Hi, I'm Jarvis, and once again I want to welcome you to Listen. And we've got a lot going on in our communities, a lot that's not good. Nothing's really changed, it just hasn't been good. I read something very interesting on the internet the other day. It was Tom Joyner, you know Tom Joyner, the morning show. He was sort of ragging on Tavis Smiley and Cornell West, you know, because they're always ragging on Obama. And I mean, I've been feeling this way for a long time. I did a program about 3 years ago. Now, you know, I don't know about Tavis Smiley, but I know Cornell West is way smarter than I am. Come on, he's a professor, you know. I don't know about Tavis Smiley, though. But they've been ragging on Obama, and the reality, I mean, you know, what has he done, blah, blah, blah. He was just ragging. His brother is ragging on the first African-American president because he isn't doing enough, you know, for black people. These guys, their hearts are just like jealous, you know, in my opinion. But Tom Joyner was kind of ragging on him as well. It's how we are. We are just kind of destructive, not only to ourselves, you know, which is obvious often, but we're really destructive to each other. Now I'm sure I would have to go back into the archives of videos and audios, but I can almost guarantee that Tavis and Cornell weren't ragging on any of the presidents prior to Obama with the same venom they're ragging on this guy right now. It's just how we are. We're so destructive. I see it in the communities all the time. You know, it's hard. Really, it's really hard, even in discussion with white folks, to make excuses for how we are, because stuff is true. Now, there are things I'm not going to admit if I'm talking to a white person about black folks, but the reality, we have some issues that we really need to get straightened up. I mean, come on now. I mean, we have a lot of single mothers walking around. Now, it's one thing if you're a single mother because your marriage split up, or your spouse died or something like that, but just to be walking around with a whole bunch of kids and no husband, a bunch of different last names, there's something that's not quite right with that. I'm not even speaking of it from a religious aspect. I'm speaking from a sort of a sociological aspect that's detrimental to the thinking of the mindset of this young person, the kids that are growing up in that environment. I mean, there are good things. I mean, the good point is that idea of family, you know, there's usually a bunch of them and all, and even with the neighbors and, you know, cousins who aren't really cousins and all that stuff. But the reality is, what's going on here? Why are we making decisions that are not beneficial to our lives? I mean, we do have a welfare system that does take care of folks, and, you know, and I am for taking care of folks. You all know me if you've been listening to the program. But the reality is, just to make this a way of life, it's not the way that it's supposed to be. Because what you're really doing, it's not, and I'm not even talking about using taxpayer money. I'm not even going there, because there are other variables involved there, where there are big businesses that are making money off of the welfare system, that their survival, their total livelihood is based on the existence of a welfare system. Government needs the welfare system as a way to infuse money into the economy, to infuse money to businesses and all by giving money to folks that they can spend, okay? Stimulus. That's just a continual stimulus into the economy. So that's something else. But I'm just speaking as an individual for yourself, for ourselves. We need to recognize that there's no prosperity for an individual on the welfare system. There is no way out of that mess. If this is just a way of life, this is just the way that it's supposed to be. I remember years ago when I was working for NCR, I was taking the bus to work one day, and I remember this woman was getting on the bus with her daughter, and they were celebrating because her daughter just came to the age and with a child or whatever to qualify for her, you know, welfare, and she was so excited. I'm saying there's something wrong. We have to get ourselves out of the mindset that it's okay simply to get stuff for free. And see, these are the issues that I have with Tavis and with Cornell when they're ragging on Obama because he hasn't done enough for black people. I think we need to stop looking that like we need a handout so somebody can do something for black people. We need to begin to get up and start doing something for ourselves. I shared about my daughter. She wanted to run track. And so they introduced track to the first graders last year in her school. And she would run the race, you know, and I was never into track. I was a martial artist most of my life, and I hated to run. But I went to one of her little track things, and she was running, and she came about second to last place. But what I noticed in my daughter was she didn't quit running. She still finished. She was looking crazy and exhausted, and she didn't come in first or even close, but she finished. I was impressed with that. So I told her, she told me she wanted to run track, and I've shared this so many occasions. And look, I told her in 4 months, it was September, I told her by 1st of January, we're both going to be in shape. And we run a mile 4 nights a week right now, her and I. And she couldn't run a half a mile when we started. But we just started. We started slow. We started walking. And then I started walking a little bit faster. So we were walking a half a mile. Then I was walking real fast. Then I was, okay, we're going to do another lap. And we were just adding on like 1/18 of a mile each day. And we're all the way up to then we're running. And then we were jogging. And then we were running. And now we're just running a mile. And it's a piece of cake. Basketball, she wants to play basketball. I never played basketball. I was a martial artist, came up in the Bruce Lee era. I cleaned out my garage not long ago and bought a little basketball hoop up in there. We're just practicing repetition. 50 free throws, 20 layups here, practice dribbling. We're just repetition. I mean, I just like basketball karate for me. In repetition, you can do anything. But all I've seen is, I've watched her lose weight. I've lost weight. We're eating right. We're just doing what we need to do to accomplish the goal, okay? And that's all I'm sharing with you. We're doing math today. And we were doing subtraction with borrowing and pretty large numbers, a little bit beyond what she's supposed to be doing in the grade that she's in. And she was getting a little frustrated. And I was showing her, look, it doesn't matter. I drew out this problem of like I used about 15 digits minus something with about 13 digits, And I showed her, and I subtracted it there for her with the borrowing and and all that stuff. And I said, this is the same process you use with every problem. It doesn't matter if you get the process down. It doesn't matter how large the problem is. But you have to do it. And then it takes repetition, learning how to do it, repetition. You can do anything. And so I'm suggesting, and what I'm teaching my daughters, trying to help my daughter be better than me. I look at my son who graduated from college in this past June. And he started his new job in September, and he's making good money. And I told him the other day that I was proud of him. I was very proud of him. Because when I see him, I see myself plus. Where I see my characteristics, my personality trait, saying him, but he's better than me. He's better than I was, especially in his age. I think that's what all dads want to see. But it's something that he had to learn as well. I remember he wanted to run track. Now, he's just turned 25 recently, but I remember he wanted to run track. I never ran. I didn't run back then either, but I was younger then. I remember at church, going to one of the high schools, I think Carroll High School, their track was open. And I ran around the track with him. I was in my church clothes, my church shoes, my suit, my tie, and I ran a mile with him. Simply because he wanted to do it, so I did what I was trying to show him that you can do whatever it is you want to do, but it takes work. It takes a desire. First of all, it takes a goal. What is it you want to do? Then you have to figure out a plan, how you're going to do it, and then you have to implement it, and you can't give up. I'm telling you, back my daughter, when we were starting that thing, trying to get her ready for track, she was like, ready to give up after about a mile. I had to threaten her one day. Honey, I'm going to take you outside and spank you. Now, I wasn't going to, but she thought I was. And then come right back in here. But I had to motivate her. Because she didn't want to. And sometimes she'd be crying, but I made her. I made her. And now she's just happy to do it. She's ready to do it. I wasn't feeling too well. The other day, I pulled muscle, she said, and she'd run by herself if I'd just stand there to watch her. Now imagine that. Okay? All I'm saying is we need to get that attitude. And we need to begin to impart that attitude into our children. Even if we didn't have that attitude growing up, okay? That's all I'm saying. Nobody else is going to get us out of the mess that we're in. We have to do it. And so again, getting back to Cornell West and Tavis Smiley, man, they are so... I used to love listening to Cornell West. I love listening to intelligent brothers, Tavis Smiley was always just Tavis Smiley. When I didn't even really watch him back then, but Cornell West, he was the man. But this whole infatuation, obsession, you know, with Obama is like, man, it just really, really, really disappointed me about the brother. Because we don't want to be tearing each other down. And we don't want to be trying to coerce this black president into focusing on the needs of black people. We need to be focusing on black people. Cornell West, I believe he's a professor at Princeton, some college, I don't know where he's at. But he needs to just go out and do some, you know, Barack Obama, early in his life, when he graduated from college, did that community organizing in Chicago, trying to help, trying to organize poor folks to demand and to get their lives better, okay? Why did Cornell just go out into the neighborhoods for free and just start trying to help people? You know, they don't want to do that. So I'm suggesting, and they're not going to do that. I guess I'm just venting a little bit about those two brothers right now, but their problem is that Obama isn't doing enough for black folks. We don't need anybody doing anything for us. We need to do for ourselves and get ourselves together. Obama, to me, is the perfect example that the only limits a black man has in this nation are the limits that we have imposed upon ourselves. Now, I know we do have a history here that has caused us to be behind a bit. It's caused us to have certain negative, you know, mindsets that sort of sabotage our own well-being. But these are the issues we need to be looking at. Not looking at making sure we have more money, that the government keeps giving us free money or free telephones or whatever. But we need to begin to figure out a way out of this mess. Figure out a goal. Figure out where we want to be. Figure out a plan, implement that plan, and stay committed to it and take care of it. We need to do that. And for those of us who are somewhat okay, we need to find a way to help others do this as well. We need to get out of this mess. We have an African-American president for 4 years. We're getting ready to have him for another 4 years. There's no reason why we should be in the mess that we're in, or there's no reason why we should be continuing in the mess that we're in. See, a lot of the mindsets we've had is we were convinced over the years that this is all that we were good for. We were convinced that, you know, black folks, well, we could excel and as musicians and singers, but that was about it. Even back in the 30s and the 40s, when black folks were able to sing, they would be singing clubs that black folks weren't even allowed to come to listen, okay? Isn't that amazing? But the entertainers were black. But black folks weren't allowed to attend those functions. So that was cool, you know, for black folks, you know, they could do that. They could be entertainers. And then, you know, they could be athletes, you know, when black folks, you know, Jackie Robinson, when these guys began to come into the sports. Basketball used to be all white, you know that, right? Baseball used to be all white. Football used to be all white. Believe it or not. And so did golf, and so did tennis. Really cool the other day when Serena was beat by that other African-American girl. I can't remember her name. I posted something about that on Facebook. Somebody got mad at me. But the reality is that in politics was like the last stand. You know, well, black folks could do anything else. But, you know, then we had like Colin Powell was like the general, you know, and he was very successful and very admired, but still that one hallowed ground that only white folks could be a part of was the President of the United States. And then we had a black man become President of the United States. Then it was, well, you know, it was just a fluke, and it wasn't going to happen again. We were going to make him a one-term president, remember? But bam, president again. 8 years. My daughter, 7 years old. She was about 3 or so when Obama became president. All she knows, she doesn't know who Bush is. All she knows is that a president of the United States is a black man. And all these black kids, all these white kids, all these other kids, whatever we have, all kids that age, all they know is a black president. Come on now. My daughter will be like 12 years old, 11 years old. And all she'll ever have known for this country is a black president. So then what are the limitations? What are the limitations of a black man in this nation? How many people did not want Obama to be president? Just about half the nation, right? And he was still president. So how many people are standing in the way of your success? Half the nation? I don't think so. So if this man could find a way to be president, could have a goal, set a goal, make a plan, implement that plan, stay committed and get there. Come on, you remember the first time he was running? All that stuff? That stuff with the Reverend Wright, with palling around with terrorists, and all these accusations. He wasn't even born in America. He's from Kenya. He hates America. He's a Muslim. He's a socialist. All the stuff they were throwing at him, even after he was president. And so they were going to make him a one-term president. The GOP would not cooperate with him at all. There was nothing. They were just fighting him. Nothing. The business of the country didn't get done because they were fighting Obama so hard. Just got reelected. So if this man could be successful with the opposition he had, what's your excuse? What's my excuse? We have no. And so what lesson are we teaching our children? Quit playing the number. Quit drinking. Quit smoking weed. Come on. I was watching a comedian. What was that? Some new comedian. He says, Grandmama's house is supposed to be smelling like cakes and pies, you know, not alcohol and weed. Okay? What kind of messages are we teaching our children? Our children. I had my day when I was younger, and even then I would be amazed when I'd see people that were like getting high and their kids were in the room. I was like, I didn't have kids, but I would see that going on. What are we doing? What kind of message are we sending to our children? What we're doing is, when your kids know you get high, you're sentencing them to be a failure in life. That's it. Consider that. But anyway, there's no reason why we should be failures, considering what we've got to look at in our nation today. Just kick that around. Think about that. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you for joining me once again. And listening. And I invite you to listen again.